Hello, this is Matt from Matt Heaney Apps, and in this video we'll take a look at error handling in Swift. So we'll take a look at exactly what it is, why we need it, and how we can use it to be nice and prepared for any situation that arises when users get their hands on our apps. For this I have a blank playground all set up and ready to go. So boot up a playground and let's get to work. So in this video, like I said, we will take a look at error handling. With error handling, we can set our code up in a certain way to handle things that don't quite go as planned. With error handling, if something doesn't quite go right, we can throw an error, which we can then catch and handle in a graceful way. This is essential for good code and for building good apps. The important thing to remember when you're building apps is that there is always a risk that something will go wrong. So we need to handle this with error handling. You see graceful ways of handling errors all the time, maybe without even realizing it. Say for example, you're trying to post to a social media app and something goes wrong. Chances are you're going to get a pop-up that will explain the error. That is a much more graceful way of handling this error compared to the app just not really doing what you expect, or perhaps even crashing. That is a sort of outcome we can achieve with error handling. So let's take a look at this in action and you'll see exactly what I mean. For this, we will use a similar example than in the last video, and let's pretend we're building a shopping app, where a user can purchase a whole bunch of good stuff. In today's example, we will set up a user and an item that this user wants to purchase. We will then allow this user to try to make that purchase. Now, even in a situation as simple as this, multiple things can happen and there can be multiple outcomes. Some good, some bad. For example, the user might not be able to afford the item, or the item might be out of stock, or neither of these things might be the case and the user can successfully purchase that item. In this video, we will use error handling to cleanly and gracefully handle each of these situations. Let's take a look. So for this example today, we need a few new classes, one for a user and one for an item. Let's quickly set this up. So we want a brand new class called user, and the only property that we really care about for our user today is the user's available funds. How much money do they have to spend in our store? So we will have a variable called available funds, which is going to be a CG float, which we will set in the initializer for the user. For this example today, that's it for the user. All we care about are those available funds. We also want a brand new class for an item that we want to sell in our store. Class item. And for the item, there's two things that we care about: a price and a remaining stock. So how many of these items do we have left in the store? So price is going to be a CG float, and remaining stock is going to be an integer. And again, let's set these up through an initializer. And let's link it all up. Just like so. So we now have a class for a user and a class for an item. In our example today, we're going to have a user who will have a certain amount of funds available to spend, and we're going to have an item which will have a price and a remaining stock. And in this example, we're going to make a brand new user and a brand new item, and this user is going to want to buy this item. So let's make a new user and a new item. The user for me will be myself, so let's have let Matt, and this will be a user. And for this example, this user's available funds is going to be 1,000. So in a real life example, this will be a currency. And the item we will declare is going to be a MacBook Air. This will be an item, and the price for this is going to be $9.99, and the store currently has 10 remaining in stock. So we now have a user and we have an item. And in this example, I want to buy the MacBook Air. The user is going to try and buy this item. So let's add some logic in place for this. We have a brand new function called purchase item. This will take a user, so the user who wants to purchase this item, and the item they want to buy. The purchase logic today is going to be nice and simple. First things first, we're going to take the user and we're going to take their available funds and deduct the cost of this item. They purchase this item, so we have to charge them, right? So user.available funds, and we will deduct the cost of the item. Because we've now sold one of these items, we want to take away 1 from the remaining stock of this item. So item.remaining stock minus equals 1. We then want to print a message to say this user has successfully purchased this item. We then also want to print out the remaining stock of the item and the user's remaining balance. So user has successfully purchased that item. I'm going to do a couple of different print statements here, just so we can keep it all on the screen when I'm zoomed in on the code. We're then going to say there is now item.remaining stock left of that item. The user's remaining funds is now then the user's available funds. Nice and simple, right? We have a function that will take a user, will take an item, and will purchase that item, and then print out all the information that we care about to let us know that the user has successfully purchased that item. Nice, let's use this to purchase an item. So, purchase item, the user, is going to be me, and the item I want to purchase is the MacBook Air. Let's hit play, and let's see our print statements. So, we process my order. The user has now successfully purchased that item. Purchased, I'm making typos everywhere nowadays. There is now 9 left of that item. The user's remaining fund is now £1, which makes sense. I had £1,000 to play with, and the MacBook Air cost £999. So sweet, our function is now set up, and the user can purchase an item, and everything has gone to plan. But that isn't always going to be the case. Even in this very, very basic example, there's 2 major things that can go wrong. What if the user can't afford this item? Okay, so say for example, it was the end of 2020, Apple just announced the new MacBook Airs with the M1 chip, and they announced the price in dollars, right? So I've made an account on this website to buy a MacBook Air, and I've done my conversions from dollars to pounds wrong, and I only have £900 available to spend. But the item is £999, right? In this setup, if we was to hit play again, I've still managed to successfully buy this item, but now my remaining fund is minus £99. That's an issue. We've now sold this item to a user who can't afford it. Also, let's assume I do get my conversion calculation right and I have the correct funds, but by the time I do all the maths, everything's sold out. I can afford this now, but there's no stock left. Let's hit play and see what happens. Again, we've successfully sold this item to the user, but the stock is now -1. The problem is we've successfully sold this item to the user when we shouldn't have done. There's no stock left. And we're going to end up with a very, very unhappy user, and possibly some legal action. We've just charged the user almost £1,000 for an item that we can't sell them. So just in this very, very basic example, there's already some situations that we have to handle. Some errors in our process that we have to catch and handle gracefully. So let's polish off the logic in our purchase item function to make sure this doesn't happen. Let's try and catch some of these errors before something bad happens. So what we're going to do is we're going to say in this function, if either the user can't afford this item or if we're out of stock, we're going to throw an error. Then, when we call this function, if something goes wrong and we throw an error, we have to catch the error and handle this error. Let's take a look. To do this, there's 3 major parts. To start with, we have to throw an error. So before any of this logic, we're going to do a check. We're going to say if either the user's available funds is less than the item's price, or, to double pipe signs, the item's remaining stock is less than or equal to 0, then let's throw, choose the keyword throw, an NS error, which is just a standard error. So if either of these things happen, if the user can't afford the item or we do not have enough stock to fulfill that item, we're going to throw an error. At this point here, the function will exit and nothing past that point is going to happen. The function will know that something has happened that we will class as an error in our process and to throw it back to whoever's calling this to handle it. Now, when it comes to throwing errors, Only certain functions can do this. This is really important because when we call the function, we need to know if it can throw an error or not. Simply because when we call this function, we need to know if it can throw an error, and if it can, we have to handle it. To make a function be able to throw an error, we have to include the keyword throws here. This function has the ability to throw an error. Now we can do this. That's part 1 and part 2 done of setting up a function to throw an error. We have some conditions that can throw an error, and then we mark the function as having the ability to throw an error. Then, when we call the function, we have to do something a little bit different. Straight away, when we call purchase item, passing in a user and an item, we're now getting an error, which says call could throw, but it's not marked with try. So this function here, we now know one or two things is going to happen. We can either successfully purchase an item or an error will be thrown. Because of this, we can't just say go purchase an item and always expect it to be successful. Instead, we have to say to our code, go and try and do this. If you can, sweet, lovely, we can crack on. If you can't, we will have to handle an error because something's gone wrong. So what we have to do is we have to wrap this into a do catch block. Let's take a look. So we will say do, open curly bracket, and let's pop this function call into this. Now before we call this, we're going to use a keyword try. So we're going to say to our code, do the following. Literally, plain English, do the following. And try and do this. If you can do this, then good, the user's going to purchase the item. But if an error is thrown, then we have to catch it. We will throw an error and we will catch it by saying catch, open curly bracket, and drop a line. In the catch block, what's going to happen is if we throw an error from this function, this here will land here. Now, if we try and do this function here and we throw an error, this block of code will run. The catch will run when an error has been thrown, which will happen if the user can't afford the item or if we haven't got enough stock left. So here, what we can do, we can print there was an error. So now we're handling the situations a bit more gracefully. Now, obviously in an actual app, you wouldn't just print a statement, you might make a pop-up appear or edit your UI to indicate what has happened. Let's see this in action. Let's reset our stock to 10 so the user has enough funds and there is enough stock left. Let's hit play. And as you can see, the user has successfully purchased the item. This happened. They purchased the item. But now, if we can't afford the item, so the available funds are less than the item's price, this here will be true. So let's throw the error. Let's not execute any of this code. And instead, let's catch that error in our catch block. There was an error. Same for the other condition. The user might have the correct amount, but we have no stock left. We can't process the order, so we're going to throw an error. Rather than process our order, we're going to print there was an error. We're now stopping the user from purchasing that item with error handling, and we are handling the situation with a do catch block. So this is better, right? The user can't purchase an item that they're not supposed to purchase anymore. The problem is, it's not all that graceful. This is incredibly vague. All we're doing is saying there was an error. Say as a user, you're trying to purchase this item and that flashes up. You're not really going to have a clue what happened and you're just going to try and make the same purchase again. We want to be able to tell the user why there was an error. We want to tell them if they haven't got enough funds or if we've run out of stock. We want to be able to throw different errors depending on what happened to be more descriptive in our catch block down here. So rather than just saying there was an error, we want to tell the user something went wrong. You haven't got enough for this item. Or something went wrong. We haven't got enough stock left. That is significantly clearer than this error here. So how can we do that? Well, rather than throwing this kind of very standard error, instead we want to set up our own errors that we can throw. So before our function to purchase an item, let's declare a few errors that we want to throw. For this, we need an enum, which we will call something descriptive. So purchase error. And for this, what we have to do is make this enum conform to error. Now we can use any case in this enum as an error when it comes to throwing errors in functions. So let's add a few custom errors that we want to throw here. So it's an enum, so these will be cases. And one of these, as we just discussed, is if the user hasn't got enough money to purchase the item. So this error is going to be called insufficient funds. So now, rather than just throwing an NS error, we could throw an error called insufficient funds. The other example of an error today is insufficient stock. Like so. And just like this, we have created custom errors that we can throw in our functions that have the ability to throw. So now, back into our purchase logic. Rather than doing this, we can now break out this if statement into two different if statements. Like so. So one if statement for if the user hasn't got enough funds for this item, and one for if we haven't got enough stock. If the user hasn't got enough to purchase the item, then we're going to throw purchase error insufficient funds, our new error from here, which is of course a purchase error. If we haven't got enough stock remaining, then let's throw purchase error dot insufficient stock. We are now throwing more descriptive errors, and that's really, really important to be able to handle different errors in different ways. Then, when it comes to our do catch block to run this function, rather than just saying let's catch any old error, we can now catch particular errors. So, let's try and do this. If we throw the insufficient funds error, then we're going to catch insufficient funds. And here we now have a block of code that will run if we catch this one particular error. So now we can print something a little bit more custom. Error, please add more funds to purchase this item. So now if we throw this error, we can print more of a custom error message. But we know there's multiple errors that can be thrown. So what we can do, we can chain up our catch blocks. So after this catch block, we can add another catch block. If we was to throw the insufficient stock error and we catch it, then we're going to print error item currently sold out. Then what we can do, add another catch block for if we somehow caught an error which isn't either of these, which I get in this example today isn't going to happen, but it's a really important thing to know. So this can almost act as like a default catch block for if we catch any error that isn't any of these cases. And even though this isn't going to happen in our current logic, we might add another error case to this in the future. So let's play it safe and let's add a default fallback just in case. This one, any other error was thrown, so we can't really add the details. So let's just say error, please try again soon. We now have a do catch block which handles multiple errors being thrown. If the function that we try and do throws this error here, then handle it in this way. If it throws this error here, then handle it this way. Or if it was to throw any other kind of error, let's handle it this way. Let's quickly see this in action. So currently the user has enough funds, but the item doesn't have any stock left. So when we try and purchase the item, we're going to throw the insufficient stock error. And we're going to catch it and handle it in this way, like so. If we do have some stock left, but the user can't afford it, then we're going to throw this error, we're going to catch that particular error and handle it this way, just like so. Or if the user has enough funds and we have an item in stock, then no errors will be thrown and everything goes through and the user can successfully purchase this item. So we have now created custom errors and we are catching all the different errors that can be thrown from that function. So we now have these errors that are a lot more descriptive. With these errors, we know exactly what's going on and we can handle each error in an appropriate way to let the user know exactly what is happening. But we can go one step further in making these errors as descriptive as possible. One of our errors is insufficient funds, where we're telling the user that they have to add more funds to purchase an item. Wouldn't it be good if we could tell the user exactly how much more they have to have in order to purchase this item? Well, we can do that. What we can do with the correct error, so in this case our insufficient funds error in our purchase errors, we can add an associated value to this. That means whenever we use this case, we have to provide some additional information. Let's take a look how this works. So, case insufficient funds. So open up a bracket and let's state what additional information this error needs. So additional funds required, which is going to be a CG float. Now, whenever we use the insufficient funds error, we have to provide this information, a CG float for how much more the user needs to be able to purchase this item. And now when we try and throw this error, we have to pass in that information. So let's re-enter this back in to get that to auto-complete for us. And as you can see, when we throw an insufficient funds error, we now have to pass in how much more the user requires. That is a simple sum where we're going to take the item's price and take away the user's available funds to get how much more the user needs to purchase the item. Then what we can do when we catch this error, in addition to catching the error, we can also get our hands on that piece of information we're passing along with the error. To get access to it, we're going to do brackets at the end of this, and we have to declare somewhere to hold that value that we're passing. So in the brackets, we will declare a constant, and we'll call this additional funds required. Now, additional funds required is going to be set to whatever that value is that we pass down when we throw this error. We can use this in the scope of our catch block. So now we can change this error to say something like, error, please add an additional funds required to purchase this item. So now if they are £100 short, for example, it would say, please add an additional £100 to purchase this item. It's so descriptive. So now let's say the user has only £900 in their account. And we know from this item is £999. That means the user is £99 short. They come along, they try and purchase the item, and they can get an error. And it's going to say, error, please add an additional £99 or whatever currency you want to pretend our example is using today to purchase this item. Straight away, the user will know exactly what's happened, and they can go away and they can fix this issue and come back and hopefully purchase the new item. So that is how we can throw errors with custom errors and with errors which hold a value. And that wraps up this video. As always, any questions or any comments, post them down in the comment section. Or if you have any other Swift areas that you would like me to talk through in one of these videos, let me know down in the comment section. As always, if you liked watching this video, make sure to hit that like button, hit subscribe, and thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.